Today we're going to demonstrate how to pack a Quadrata grappling bag offered by QUADRATASHIELDS.COM. When you receive your bag, you'll receive it with paracord lacing and a lacing tool, as you see here in the picture, to make it easier to lace up the top. When packing the bag, it's important to go ahead and do it at room temperature or in a warm environment so it's more flexible to be able to pack. We recommend that you do not put a heating element on the bag to warm it up, because it will scar the bag if you touch it with a hot element. The items that you will need will be a scale, a sand, a sock, and a plastic sandwich bag. You fill the sandwich bag up with place sand for 1.5 pounds. You seal it, and then you put inside the sock, and then after that you tie the sock into a knot. As you can see, there's 4 here already available, ready to go. You want shredded material or t-shirts, anything that old rags, make sure they're clean. Also, we recommend that you do not use anything that has zippers or metal attached to it, any safety pins, or any sharp objects. The first step is to go ahead and get your shredded material and start stuffing it into the bag as deep as possible. We recommend that you use gloves because you'll be pounding the material into the bag. And we're going to be stuffing 4 sandbags in the center of the bag, as you can see in this demonstration. Fill up the bag liberally, because you're going to be packing the bag very, very, very tight all the way down to the bottom. If you notice, the bag is being stuffed very, very liberally with fabric and shredded material. In addition to that, we try to stuff the bag on the sides as much as possible to round out the bag. Takes a little bit of work, but the work is worth it. And once you've done that, basically what you're doing is you're getting it ready for the first sandbag. So the first objective is to go ahead and stuff as much material as you can up to the first seam. And as if you notice, the bag is starting to round out at the bottom, which is very, very, very important. Now, if you notice, the bottom of the bag is stuffed tight. A mistake that is made is that it's loosely packed and you end up with a lumpy bag. So it's very, very important that you stuff the bottom of the bag as tight as possible. The next step is to go ahead and put one of the socks filled with sand in the center of the bag all the way down to the bottom. You want to make sure it's in the center, that way it keeps good balance. And then you start filling up with more shredded rags, t-shirts, whatever you're using. In addition to that, just make sure that you stuff all that shredded material around the perimeter of the sandbag, so you get nice, good balance. If you notice, the bag is being stuffed on the sides. Very, very important. You always start on the sides and try and get as much material out to the outside, and always making sure that you keep the sock that is filled up with sand in the center. Stuff as much material as you possibly can using your hand and your fingers to go ahead and get all of it stuffed in on around inside the side of the bag until you get a nice good fill. All right, now you reach the second seam and you put your second sock filled with sand right at the second seam or right above it, again in the center. You want to keep a good balance on your bag. And then in addition to that, you just keep repeating the same motion of taking your shredded fabric material, or it doesn't have to be shredded, it could just be old t-shirts, things of that nature, and keep stuffing the side of the bag around the sock with the sand in the center. Keep stuffing tight, working your way out to the edges, and this will ensure that you have a nice tight bag. Your bag at this point should be almost halfway full, and if you can notice, the bag has changed in form. Had a nice tight fill, and that's as a result of packing the bag out to the edges of the material. And it's starting to take a real nice form, and you should be happy with it once you're done. Okay, so now you've reached your third seam. You're going to put another sock filled with sand in the center, as always. Stuff it right in the center. And then in addition to that, you can see that, you might be able to see, but you still haven't reached the top. But the bag is certainly starting to fill up, and you can see it by its form. And again, you start stuffing the bag with fabric and rags, whatever you're using, to go ahead and start filling out the sides. You continue this process, and we can't emphasize enough to make sure that you have the socks with the sand in the center and working out towards your edges. It takes a little bit of work, but the reward is definitely worth it. Okay, so now we're just got through stuffing the last sandbag into the grappling bag, of course in the center. And then in addition to that, we're going to try and place that just above the logo so you get nice balance. As a point to remember, you can stuff your bag with sandbags of any weight as long as you're comfortable with it. So you can go higher or you can go lower, but always make sure that you put the sandbags in the center of the bag. This would be a good time to check your bag for balance. If you feel like you don't have balance on it, you may need to go ahead and pack it down some more to distribute the balance just before you close it up. Very important. This is the way the bag should look after it is completely stuffed and just before lacing. Bear in mind that it's always better to use shredded fabric because it stuffs a lot better. In addition to that, is your bag is going to settle after you used it for a week or two, and so therefore you may have to unlace it to repack it to get it tight. Now you reach the top of the bag and you have a couple of options. One is you go ahead and stuff a piece of foam that you can buy just about anywhere on top to go ahead and close out the bag, or you could just use a large t-shirt. Either way, you can also use that foam, another piece of foam, for the bottom of the bag if you prefer, but it's not necessary. So the bag will get stuffed with the foam in this case, and that'll close out the bag, and that should give you a nice form on top. Now your bag is completely stuffed, it's ready to be laced, and this is what it should look like. Nice clean look. It just takes a little bit of patience. The advantage of doing it this way is that you get to know your bag. And so when you're working out with it, you know whether it's balanced, stuffed right, and laced properly. And of course you can always unlace it and do some restuffing if you feel that you're not particularly happy with the way it came out. As we said in the beginning, each bag comes with a paracord and a lacing tool. And what you do is you burn the edge of your paracord, which has already been done, and then you just thread your paracord right onto your lacing tool, nice and tight, and now you're ready to start lacing. Paracord at the other end, and you just make a simple loop. And now you're ready to start lacing. Okay, so now we're going to start lacing. And you just start with your first hole. Move it right through. And this is where the little lacing tool is absolutely invaluable. And it's no different than just lacing up a pair of shoes. Just take your time, make sure you don't miss any holes, and then you just completely just keep coming back and forth from one to the other till you reach the very end. You're fine. As you're lacing, just make sure that you're pulling tight so that the lacing pulls the two sides together, and you don't have any opening. And this is the way your lacing should start to look. Critical move here is that you do not lace the last two holes. You leave those alone. You're going to take your lacing tool and go to the opposite side of the flaps and start the lacing process all over again. Make sure that your lacing is tucked always underneath your flaps, and you just kind of repeat the process. Okay, this would be a good time to go ahead and introduce the pliers. Make sure it doesn't have any cutting, and you start pulling the laces to get a tighter fit. Make sure that you work your way from the bottom to the top, and you just keep adjusting as you go. So we're lacing up the second set of flaps, and from there we leave the last two holes alone and we start lacing up the third side. This is the best way to actually lace it, so that way you get a nice even lacing all the way through. The paracord that we're using is literally used for climbing, and it's a paracord, so you have a nice strong cord that should never ever break on you. So we're almost done lacing the third flap, and again, we leave the last two holes empty. Make sure that you use your pliers to pull the lacing as tight as possible. And now we're going on to our last two flaps to join them together. This is where you see that the lacing tool is invaluable, and that's why every bag comes with a lacing tool. Okay, if you notice that the loop that we tied at the other end, we pull it out on one of the lace flaps, and the reason for this would be a good time to pull it out so that when we do the final lacing, it won't be difficult to catch that loop and tie it all together. So now we're doing the final lace. You got 4 holes, and make sure you have your loop on the outside. Go through the first hole, then come outside, go inside, go through your second hole, and then once that's done, you go through your third hole. We'll move out of the way a little bit here so that you can see. And if you notice, the holes are nice and tight on purpose so that you get a nice tight fit, and you see the bag starting to close up. You loop it in through the loop, and you bury your loop on the inside and pull as strong, hard as you can. And your bag is coming together very nicely. And you go through, pick up the flaps, and you just repeat the process one more time by making sure that your lacing tool comes up. You may have to loosen the flap a little bit, but that's okay because you're going to tighten it up later on anyways. A little tighter fit, but certainly worth the effort. And you just repeat that whole process in the same direction. Okay, so you lace the two sides together twice on the two end holes, and you go across to the flaps on the opposite end, and just get your lacing tool, get it through the loop again, just for security purposes, because we're going to beat this bag up. And now you come in from the underside and you lace again. And you can certainly use a pair of pliers if you need to, if it's a little tough to get through. Just make sure you don't bend the lacing tool. It takes a little bit of an effort. And here you go. Just work it through just a little bit, and there you go. And then of course here comes your next loop. Tighten up your laces. Yeah, it should come together very nicely. There you go. And this is your last hole. I'm going to go through and bring your lacing tool up to the top. Again, don't be afraid to use your pliers. And now you've got a nice, beautiful lacing job. And go over your lacing and start using your pliers to tighten it up, and you should be fine. Okay, and because you lace through the last 4 holes twice, there's no need to tie off. You're going to go through the loop that's you need to find in the center of your bag, and get another, untie your lacing tool, and give it a good pull. And once you've done that, just stuff the end of your lace into the bag, and now you have a nice tight lace. And again, it may be necessary for you to unlace your bag to restuff it once you've tried it out, but that's part of the joy of making your own bag. All right, what you're seeing now is the bag fully stuffed, completed, well balanced. It is fully laced. It is ready for use. And one additional feature that we included in our bag was a waterproof label, tear resistant, that you take a Sharpie marker and just put your name on there, so that you know that it's your bag. And we hope that you enjoy using it.